human self presents to me many challenges that burden me. My heart center shines and calls to me. This is who I choose to be. Sometimes lessons.
Welcome to the Vibrational Alchemy Podcast. This is Penny Fisher, and we are so glad you are joining us for this week's episode. Hey, beautiful souls. How's everybody doing? Hope you're well. I hope your work with the container of compassion is going well. I hope you're finding it easier to stay in flow and alignment. I hope you're finding it easier to find space for ease and grace and forgiveness for yourself and just to be in a little bit more joy, right? Um, so, real quickly, this is my ding dong brain. Today's episode was actually supposed to be um, part two of that container of compassion, right? Working with um, the energies of the collective. But I realized that this coming Tuesday is actually the spring equinox. And I'm like, man, we can't pass up that opportunity. So um, we are going to take a little detour from the container of compassion and this idea of uh, working with the collective energies and all of that beautiful work. We'll come back to it next week, but today I want to explore with you how we can harness these amazing energies of the spring equinox. Um, and that harnessing the energy of the spring equinox is actually the subtitle I wanted to use for the episode, but it's like way too long to put in anything. So there you go. And just real quick, two tidbits of information, some shameless self promotion. I am dropping daily quotes of the day along with thoughts of gratitude. It's my daily gratitude journal for a challenge I'm doing with an organization I work with. Um, and a wish for you. I've gotten very brave and I'm dropping those on TikTok. You can find it under Vibrational Alchemy. And I'm also uploading them to Facebook. So if you want to check those out there, that would be great. Short, minute, 2 minutes. That's it. Just short, maybe a nice way to start your day. And we actually have now a YouTube channel. So we're working on getting all of these podcast episodes uploaded there so for those of you who prefer the visual, they'll be hanging out there for you if that feels in alignment for you. All right. Okay, so it's spring or almost, and we all get the energy of spring. And especially if, like me, you live kind of in the northern part of this the, the northern hemisphere of the world, um, you know that this is a time of profound and deep transformation, right? We've lived for months in cold, in darker, shorter days. We've had snow, we've had bare trees, we've had yellowed grass, right? And we know that underneath all of that, the world is just resting. The earth is resting. She's gathering energy for this beautiful season that's just about upon us. And she's marshaling her resources to begin this exquisite process of rebirth that spring is all about. And this time of the year, as we start to shift, we notice that the rain smells different, right? That's my favorite part of spring, I think, is the spring rain smell. The earth smells different. The snow melts, the ground softens, the birds begin to return, and ever so tentatively, you start to see those daffodils and tulips pop up. We were in Nashville recently, uh, visiting friends and family, and the daffodils, folks, they are up, prolifically up, and it brought me so much joy. I can't even tell you. I have literally spent my entire life, except for the last 2.5 years, living in the Northeast. And so I have lived this transformation, this shift from spring, from winter to spring, from rest to rebirth over and over again. And I will tell you from the bottom of my heart that every single year it takes my breath away and brings tears of joy and gratitude to my eyes. It's a privilege to witness it. To me, this time of the year is pure, unadulterated joy. I'm not even sure I have words for it. So, from an energetic, that's the physical reality, right? So, now from an energetic perspective, the equinox holds very much this same energy, right? It holds the vibration of new life, of new beginnings, of giving birth, renewal and growth. And because the equinox actually occurs at a specific moment in time, I believe this year that I think it's Tuesday, the 19th of March at 11:06 p.m. Eastern. Double check me on that one, but I'm pretty sure that's what I remember. Um, at this moment, the light and the darkness, the length of the day and the length of the night are in perfect balance. This is a time that we are reminded again to pay attention to how we can come into more balance in our lives, right? For me, the spring equinox feels like a threshold. It feels like a place where I can cross from one aspect of my existence into another. And as Gordon's beautiful opening song reminds us, we get to choose how we are going to step across that threshold, right? I can step across that with fear, with nervousness, with grasping, right? I saw a post on Facebook earlier today that said something like, when life gets challenging, remember you asked for growth, which is true. That being said, it's only when we are in contraction and not allowing the flow that those challenges feel uncomfortable and that they persist, right? When we open and release and just allow ourselves to be, when we choose to come from our heart space, right? When we choose to embrace the the growth, the rebirth, the expansion, then the challenges can be met with, and what are we talking about? Living a life of balance and ease, right? And I get that it can make us feel anxious, and we're going to talk more about this. I don't know, I think in 2 weeks. I don't even know. But anyhow, it can make us feel anxious for sure. And I want to be really clear here. It's not about ignoring how you feel, right? If it makes you feel anxious, if it makes you feel contracted, own that, right? Own it, sit with it, ask it what it's here to teach you. It might be a signpost saying, this is not the right time to do this. You might need to swing more back into your divine feminine energy, as we've been talking about. Um, or it could just be the ego pitching a fit because it senses your expansion. And as you expand, you create more space in your field, your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual fields for light to flow in. And the ego, remember, little ego just wants to keep us safe. And it believes that keeping us small will accomplish that. So when we start to expand, the ego freaks out. And sometimes that can cause the fear and the anxiety. You get to choose how you are going to navigate those feelings. w- when we choose to identify with them, when we choose to mm, interact with those feelings, like if you picture them as a cloak, right, or a coat, a sweater, a wrap, I don't know, something you'd put on to keep you safe and warm. And if you think of that as something that you're going to wrap yourself in, those feelings of contraction, those feelings of anxiety, of nervousness, of fear, of lack of self-worth, right? And if you wrap yourself in that, that becomes who you are. It shields you. It closes you down. So I'm going to invite you to start to notice where you're doing that. Where are you taking your um, learned behaviors? Let's call them that. It's an educational term, but let's talk about your learned behaviors of being nervous, being scared, being worried, being anxious, and wrapping them around you and keeping that wrap, that coat on you so tightly and for so long that it becomes like a second skin. When you find that that's the case, this is an opportunity now to tap into this energy of the spring equinox, this energy of shedding what no longer serves us, which we did back in the fall, right? As we stepped into the fall equinox, we shed what we didn't need. And then we've been cocooned and we've been resting in this place of gestation, in this place of getting ready now to come forth as, what do I want to say here? It's not new, right? I try to be really careful about that language. We're not coming forth as a new version of ourselves because we haven't changed, right? Energy doesn't change, it stays the same. I mean, it takes different forms, but energy is energy. So a dear friend of mine, last night we were talking about using this word rediscover. I like that. That's better. Let's go with that, my friends. We have been gestating, and because we shed the things that no longer served us, we've now been cocooned because we need that time now to allow the discovery of who we have always been to become part of how we're going to walk in the world, right? So at least if you live in the northern part of the Western Hemisphere, you or the northern part of the Northern Hemisphere, you spend this time of winter um, curled up under blankets, wrapped up in coats, reading books, drinking beautiful warm beverages, right? It's a time of introspection, coming into your heart space, right? And now we get to see what the result of all that work is, right? So, how do we do this? This energy of the spring equinox is powerful, and how do we tap into it? Well, first and foremost, the key for me, and the older I get, the more I believe this is, like, if we start here, we're golden. And by here, I mean we stay in a space of curiosity, right? We're constantly noticing what's coming up for us and asking, what is this here to teach me? Where did this come from? Am I making this my identity? Do I want this to be my identity? Um, what is happening right now and what wants to happen? And when we notice places of contraction, when we notice places of um, grasping, we use the breath. We use the breath, and this was last week or 2 weeks, I don't even remember. Recently, we did an episode where there was a practice that used the breath to literally loosen the grip, right? So if you imagine your fingers, your hands holding onto something so tightly that your fingers hurt, and we used the breath to infuse the fingers and gently allow them to begin to release. Because when when you're in that place of gestation and there's contraction, you can't start to push your way up, can't start to make your way up to the surface. You can't start to shine forth as this beautiful being of love and light, which is who you are, right? This is the this is the place where we use the flow of the cosmic matrix to bring in this unconditional love of the cosmic heart. We flood ourselves with this energy so that those those old identities, those old aspects of self, um, become transformed, right? It's part of our rebirth, it's part of our transformation, right? And we we talked a few minutes ago with the this idea of the light and the dark being fully balanced at the moment of the equinox. And we did a whole arc in this podcast series devoted to finding balance with the divine feminine and divine masculine energies that are within each of us. The spring equinox energetically, I think, invites us into another aspect. That's the word I want, another aspect of balance. And that is coming into balance or finding balance between our human experience and the reality of ourselves as divine beings of love and light, right? I'm sure you've heard the expression somewhere that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. But that doesn't mean that the human experience is a bad thing. We chose this. And I was at a retreat last year um, where I was given a message actually for the whole group at the retreat. And the message was, and I'm paraphrasing here, that the human coming into form as a human being is not a punishment. It's not a bad thing. This is the place, this is the playground, Earth, the human experience, where beings who are on the ascension path come as a last stop because the potential for growth here is so profound and so powerful and so supported, right? So I'm inviting us to come into this place of finding balance between the human experience, which can feel, pardon my French, like a shit show sometimes, and acknowledging the reality that we are divine beings of love and light. And how do we find balance in here, right? How do we find balance between the place that we really are, source energy in human form? We are pure love. We are pure light. We are pure divine power. And this feels really important to me because when we are in balance, when we are in tune, we are able to be pure light, pure love. We're able to be the light that shines so brightly in the darkness that it helps other people on their journey. We are able to be love, the love of the unconditionally loving cosmic Christ consciousness. We are able to be divine power. And we've talked about power, not power over others, but the power that feeds our light, that feeds our love, so that it can flow through us and out into the world. When we're in balance, we are able to surrender into this divine plan that is unfolding through us as these beautiful beings who have agreed to be here in this lifetime, who have agreed to take on the challenges, learn the lessons, shine our light, help others along. We're able to acknowledge who we are because who we are in both of those forms, and here it is, who we are in both of those forms, disincarnate spiritual beings or incarnated humans in these carbon-based bodies, we are who we are. It doesn't change. We are all that. We are light, we are love, we are divine power that flows through us into the world. It's not either or. It feels like either or when we let the ego take ascendancy, when we let the ego create our reality that we're separate from source, that somehow the duality that we are experiencing for our own growth is true, and it's just not, right? The more we can release that, the more we can shed that, the more we can be the embodiment of this peace that helps us to find balance, that helps us to bring that duality into balance and release this illusion. We talked about this in the episode with the diamond portal, right? To release this illusion of duality. And when we come into balance to this extent, my dear, beautiful fellow light bringers, this is how we change the world. Just like the daffodils coming up, the warm breezes, the sun warming us changes our landscape from um, bare trees and dead grass and bitter cold into this landscape of beautiful life and abundance. This is how we change our um, collective human experience, right? We, when you are in that space and you are in balance and you are holding in your field the vibration of you as a being of love and light, right? There is no, and you're holding this reality that there is no separation between the beautiful spiritual you and the human you, right? People feel that, folks. People sense that. You've had this happen. You've walked into a room, you've walked into a party, you've walked into a store, and you've either been like, this is, oh my gosh, this is so lovely. I'm really enjoying this. Or you've been like, get me the heck out of here. Like, I don't know what this is, but this doesn't feel right. Right? Um, in this book that I work a lot with, it's called The Way of Mastery. Um, they talk about this as cultivating a deep and unconditional love for ourselves, so deep that it spills out. And they say this, I think this quote is beautiful. They say, learn to love yourself beyond all created things. Learn to nurture yourself and to cultivate within yourself only that which speaks of joy and truth, so that your words, your actions, and your very presence always uplift another, so that when another walks into the room where you are, they feel like a breath of fresh air just hit them, even if you haven't lifted a finger. And in my edition, that's pages 94 and 95. And that's the power that we can tap into at this time of the spring equinox, right? When you drive along and you see new growth on the side of the road, when you drive along with the window open and feel the beautiful spring breeze, when you open the windows on a rainy spring day and you smell the smell of the earth coming alive as the rain feeds it and saturates it, right? You feel you feel that. And this is who we want to become, right? So I would like to suggest a practice. I was hoping to walk us through it, but I think we're going to be kind of out of time. So I'm going to walk you through it, and then you go ahead and come back to it and work with it and make it your own. right? This was, again, gifted to me as I was getting ready to, um, as I was trying to figure out how this episode was going to go. Um, and I want this to be playful. We think of meditation so often as sitting and being still and being quiet and stilling the mind and all of those things. And that's powerful, not taking away from that. But we're in a time of spring, of movement, of new growth, of giving birth. And so I'd love for you to incorporate aspects of this practice, however you interact with it, into your daily rituals, um, because it's going to involve movement. All right. And the visual that I was given when I was getting ready to record this is the visual of a seed. Of course, it's spring, right? So the visual of a seed that has to push its way up to the surface. And the part that I was asked to pay attention to is that the seed literally has to bust through layers, right? It has to move those layers aside so that it can make its way up to the surface. Okay. And that's important because that's what we're going to be doing. So I'm just going to talk us through this, but even in sharing the practice, there is a huge amount of um, energy. So if you are driving, um, walking, doing anything that requires your undivided focus, I would invite you to pause here, come back to the recording, or just let this flow over you until you can find a quiet spot and really soak this all up. Okay. So essentially, if I would start with music, right? And it doesn't have to be beautiful, solemn music. It can be just music that makes you feel happy. High vibrational music, though. We're not putting on music that's angry and angry. We'll just leave it there. All right. So put on some music and find a place where you have some space. And when you stand there, be the tree, right? Get rooted in, get grounded in, feel your roots coming out, going down into the earth, wrapping around the heart of the earth. And then place your hands on your heart and really start to connect with your heart space. Drop into that sacred heart chamber using your breath. You know how to do this now. Okay. And imagine in that heart space that your heart space is filled with this fertile soil, but the soil isn't dirt, the soil is light. So you're resting in your heart space. It is just saturated with light, and you're just resting there. Notice the light. What color is it? Is there a texture, a viscosity, whatever it is? Okay, whatever it is, trust it because it's right for you. Okay, now as you rest in your heart space, I want you to imagine or actually do this. I want you to contract into a small ball. If you can just actually, while you're standing, if you could see me now, I have my hands in gentle fists and I'm pulling my arms across my midline and putting my head down, chin to my chest, pulling my shoulders forward and making myself small. If it's available to you, you could even squat down and make yourself small. Okay. And pause here for a minute to feel what it feels like waiting to be born. All right. And then you're going to imagine above yourself a layer of soil. This layer of soil is something that holds you back. It might be um, your fear about money. It might be a lack of self worth. It might be concern about how others are going to see you. It might be grief or anger. It might be a habit or exhaustion or some, it doesn't matter what it is. Here's the key: don't make it about other people or other situations. What is it in you that is keeping you stuck? It is keeping you from reaching the surface. Okay. Or reaching from being in service. Yeah, let's go with that. All right. So you envision this layer of soil above you. And now I want you to very gently start to rise up, and you can use your hands, kind of put them in prayer position even, and raise them above your head so that they go first and they break through. It's like you're a diver entering the water, but you're going up instead of down, right? Let this movement be quick or slow, whatever feels right for you. Okay. The important thing here is to imagine yourself filled with the light of the soil and allowing that light to dissolve this layer of, of heaviness that's above you. Okay. You're going to make your way up. And when you break through that layer, I want you to celebrate it. And I want you to move. I want you to dance. I want you to rock out. You can, if you have beautiful, gentle music on, you can sway, you can spin, you can, whatever it is, you can. We're talking about coming into balance. See if you can stand on one foot for a little while. I don't know. Just have fun. Just have fun. The movement, my friends, will actually help your body integrate this new reality that you have created for yourself. This reality that whatever has been holding you back has now been absorbed into this, I'm going to call it light soil, the fertile light soil of your heart. So whatever this blockage was now, you've dissolved it, right? It didn't go away, but it changed into light and it's now hanging out in your heart. All right, makes sense? You're going to repeat this practice as often as you need. It might take more than one try to dissolve that layer and get up into the light. Doesn't matter. Do this with anything that you feel is holding you back. Remember that the energy of the spring equinox is going to be strongest on Tuesday. And if you're listening to this in the future, it will be strongest on whatever day the equinox actually is. But that energy is available to us all the time. Okay? So you can come back to this. The biggest thing, my little flowers, is to remember to have fun. And remember, you are cultivating a year of joy for yourself, right? And do you know that the more you do this work, the more that you practice coming into balance, the more that you practice birthing who you truly are. I'll say it again, it's not a new you. It is you rediscovering the truth of who you have always been, right? The easier it is to navigate it when those waves of unpleasantness, we'll call it that, come flowing toward us in our lives. You will feel less off balance. And when you get knocked off balance, you'll come back into equilibrium faster and faster. And working with this practice, you're going to bring playfulness, you're going to bring humor in. And from there, it's so easy to just step into the reality of yourself as divine love and light. You can be that disincarnate spiritual being in your incarnated human form. You can be divine light, be divine love, be divine power flowing through you and into the world. You can reclaim, rebirth, that's better, your identity as a beautiful and perfect being of love and light. And it will help you to remember and to trust the truth that this is how Source sees you, because it's who you are, who you've always been, and who you will always be. I love you all so much. And I am incredibly grateful to each and every one of you for joining us. I am Penny Starhart. This has been the Vibrational Alchemy Podcast. And until we are together again, remember, you are loved and you are love.
This is who